Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Pat Cramer's YouTube channel and welcoming Pat. Today, I have the honor, I'm Mary Gooden, the CEO and founder of Divine Destiny Mentoring and Publishing, to introduce Pat Cramer, Patricia Cramer, as you might see her author name on her books. She is a #1 best-selling author and the storyteller of extraordinary moments that remind us we're never alone. Pat's work is rooted in over 25 years of collecting real, inspiring accounts of angelic presence, synchronicities, and divine timing. She has recently launched her second book, really, 911 to Heaven, which is miraculous moments that remind us we are never alone. And we are right on the timeline of launching her first book initially revised on March the 3rd of 2026, which is In the Hands of Angels. And in these stories, in these books, Pat shares real, extraordinary experiences that seemingly happen to ordinary people. Miracles, magnificence, really and truth. True stories that bring hope and comfort and spiritual awareness to the world. So, Pat, thank you so much for being here. I'd love to begin by giving you a moment to share why these books are so important to you and why now.
Thank you, Mary. I can put in one word why I think these books are important to the world, and that word is hope. Hope and peace and joy are in short supply in our world today because everywhere we look, people see violence and they see war and they see hatred. And the only antidote to that kind of environment is love. And the more people tune in to the beautiful spiritual opportunity they have every day to look around them and look for some small miracle, some way that they are touched, some way that they are special because uh, they know someone's taking care of them, then we have the smallest chance of trying to bring that love into the world and just diminish the effects of all those negative things that are around us. So these stories in 911 to Heaven
Mm.
are, as you said, real stories. They're people that I met, people that I talked to, people who said who shared a story in delight, saying, "Oh, I can't wait to tell you what happened. This happened to me. It happened to my son, my daughter, my mother, my father." Uh, they shared their story very happily, and there were others that said, I'll tell you this, but I really haven't told very many people because they would think I was crazy." So there's this whole continuum from excitement to, um, to like fear of being ridiculed when
Mhm.
people want to talk about something miraculous that happened. And yet it can happen to all of us. That wonderful divine serendipity that's out there. We just have to open our eyes because we tend to go through the day sort of caught up in all kinds of busy things and just the stress that
Mhm.
everybody goes through every day. And if you just stop and say, "Oh, this wonderful thing happened." It can be very simple. It can be, I'm thinking about, all of a sudden, a person pops into my head, and I pick up the phone and I call them and they say, "Oh, I really needed to hear your voice right now." And you think, that was that was divinely inspired for me to call that person. There's other things where you're out in traffic. And by the way, Mary, I have to tell you, I think driving cars probably the most dangerous thing we do in this world because so many people told me stories of times that they were helped when they were saved from a car accident
Mm.
or, just something that would have been a disaster and it wasn't. But you go into a car and you're almost in an accident, but you're not, and you say, "Oh, but for that particular thing happening, I could have been hurt, I could have been injured." And you were saved. It's this little everyday miracle, this bit of the divine touching your life that can just bring you comfort every single day. My desire is to get these messages out to people, to have everyone who listens to these words, everyone who picks up this book because they happen to see it somewhere, someone gave it to them, they followed a link that they saw somewhere, and they get it and they say, oh, this brings me such joy. This brings me such peace. That's what I want to bring into the world. So I think these books do bring that, Mary.
I agree. I would agree. These stories, and I will sum it up in the best way that you've just brought our awareness to it. We can be distracted by love, or we could be distracted by hate. Or we could be distracted in the car, and the universe shows love by saving us. And I think that every story, I've just been blessed to read the stories because, again, the works that you're putting out into the world, these books, these stories, are helping us to be, we're all distracted in some way, shape, or form, to be distracted by magnificence, by what's a reality, that yes, there is divine support, there is angelic presence, there is hope in the world, even though some of us may have lived for decades thinking that there wasn't. And all it is sometimes is tuning into something different, or changing the channel, or picking up one of these books, 911 to Heaven or In the Hands of Angels, both of them filled with truth. So
I'd like to talk a little bit about the reason for the
I was
title
going to ask you.
for
Oh, okay.
911 to Heaven, because I know that kind of always tickles you. And the first series of stories that I put out were in a book called In the Hands of Angels. And I based that on a Bible verse, and it comes from Psalms. And the Psalms are the songs and stories of the Bible. So they're a very generic book of the Bible, in the sense that it's just all these beautiful things that people would relate to one another many centuries ago. So in the songs and stories, in Psalm 91, verse 11, there is a verse that says, God has set his angels over you and charged them to guard you in all your ways. In their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And when people would tell me their story of some small miraculous encounter, the thing I call the everyday miracle, uh, I would say, well, you had your own little 911 call to heaven. That's our little emergency call up to heaven saying, help, please. And so it just became the title for the second book. I had gathered all the stories and a working title, but all of a sudden I realized, oh my goodness, this is about that call, that 911 emergency call that we can make. And the moment that the title 911 to Heaven settled on this book, it was magic. It just had, for me, a resonance that said, this is right. This is exactly what it is. And you can see on the book cover behind me there that there's this sweetness of this person reaching up, saying, help, please. And it just always touches me to see that little figure that's looking for divine help. And it's there. All we have to do is ask.
So good. So true. So good and so true. I have a question for you. And I would love for you to share. You've already told us, the highlights of why these books are important to humanity, to you, to the world, in what they bring. They offer hope and, miracles in a world that feels so harsh right now. But I know that people that are diving into this channel that you've created probably want to know, how did all this start for you, Pat? Like, I know that people were coming with stories, but share that moment, that experience that really first opened the door for these remarkable stories.
Thank you for asking about that. because I do talk about that in chapter one, that's called in the book In the Hands of Angels, Angels at My Side. And so I was a traveling, what they call a road warrior, a speaker, a trainer, go from one city to the next, go 5 cities in one day and present seminars. And I did that for many years, almost 20 years. And that's, by the way, a lot of times where I was gathering these stories. But I have a very specific instance that led to starting to write about the miraculous experiences. So I was going to Los Angeles. This was one time I was not trying to make a connection. Our plane had been delayed, and it was very nerve-wracking for some of the people around me. I could hear this man in the seat behind me saying, "My plane's going to leave in 11 minutes. My plane's going to leave in 10 minutes." And I was like, he's just hysterical. And I hope they're holding the plane for him. But the light comes on and the bell goes ding, and the pilot says, you can get up now. And I did not have to make a connection. I didn't have to go anywhere except to a hotel, one of the few times. And so I said to myself, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to let this man behind me get out and get past me because he's desperate. And anybody else that needs to make their connection, let him go. So, Mary, what's important here is my conscious intention was stay in my seat. I was sitting on the aisle and I was not going to get up and block the aisle. So, with that intention, everybody's jumping up, and all of a sudden, I literally flew up. I mean, I felt like someone had put hands under my bottom and pushed me up out of that seat. So, literally, so strongly, I kind of like fell into the seat ahead of me. And at the same moment I'm doing that, I'm thinking, what is going on here? Because I was confused. I had been thinking, I'm going to stay in this seat. Well, at that second, that man behind me had jumped up, thrown up that overhead bin, and a briefcase had fallen out of that overhead bin. It literally brushed my back as it fell down into the seat that I had been sitting in, and it kind of going, gunk. And I turned to pick that up to hand it to him, and I thought, oh my goodness, it was a heavy briefcase. If you know those ones they're metal, they're made out of metal, and I just went, oh my gosh, this is heavy. If I had been sitting in the seat, the thing would have hit me square on the top of my head and probably bashed in my skull. I know, I know I might not have survived that particular incident. So I handed that to that man. He was like, thanks. And he ran off. And I'm breathing a prayer of thanksgiving at that moment, saying, I believe I have guardian angels that travel with me and surround me, and saying, thank you, my angels. I really felt that I was saved from a disaster. So I was sharing that with somebody after that. And that person said to me, oh, wow, that's really cool. I had a time when, and then they launched into their story. I have to remember, people love to tell stories about themselves. So they'd launch into their story. And somehow it just, more and more people just, they kept coming to me. I want to tell you this story, tell you this example. And I felt so strongly led and guided to pull these stories together and put them in a book. And I did.
So, so powerful. Well, I know that the intention behind this amazing channel that you have set up for yourself is really to keep sharing these stories and keep sharing the the synchronicities that come with the reviews of these stories of, oh my goodness, and also the, I've got a story. So I'm really excited to tune in and to be a subscriber on this channel. And so everybody listening to the video, make sure you like and subscribe this amazing journey that Pat's going to take us on through miracles, through angelic presence, through divine timing, through the Psalms of the reminder that we are never alone. We are always guided. We are always cared
Always.
for. And wouldn't you say, Pat, like when you kind of flip that switch in your head into the awareness of that, you really get to see more of life?
Oh, no question. There's no question about that. You become so much more aware. It is a conscious, intentional awareness of the world around you that goes into a very different place. And you start noticing, oh, I'm so fortunate that that happened. Now, of course, there's one of the concepts of this 911 to heaven is that there are no coincidences. It's not accidental, it is not random, it is not something that is a lucky event. It is absolutely a divine plan for you to be helped, to be sustained, to have the even the right person, someone else in the right place to help you at the right moment. Or maybe you are put in the right place to help someone else. And that it the especially the stories that come out in 911 to heaven right at the beginning here are so many examples of being in the right place at the right time to help someone else. So you just become more open to taking advantage of those opportunities instead of pushing it down. Oh, that that's crazy. Why would I do that? You just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, something miraculous happens. Something miraculous.
Full body chills. It's so true. It's just so true. Well, Pat, let me first just say thank you because I have been felt so honored to read these stories, and they have already changed my life in a way that, again, for me, it's just being reminded every day that there are other people out here that are experiencing these miraculous moments, that are ordinary people that are living and finding extraordinary experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, is there anything else that you would, as we kind of wrap everything together and put a tight bow on it, anything else that you want to share, a message to your audience that have maybe had a moment of divine intervention, or maybe are truly wondering if angels have touched their lives too?
My message would be open your heart. Let your heart simply open up to possibility, open up to the reality that you are so protected, so taken care of, and that you are never alone. And I think when that openness is there, it shifts everything, and people will have a much more welcoming attitude toward miraculous moments.
Yay. Thank you. Thanks for letting me interview you. I'm excited to continue to follow your page and hear all of these amazing bits and pieces as they come in. So thank you, Pat. Blessings to all, and all blessings.
Thank you.